Hey YouTube, if you're as old as I am, you would probably remember Sesame Street back in the day. They used to have a segment on there where they would say one of these things is not like the other. And that's what we got here. Let me move these Kimbers out of the way. That's enough about them, because one of these things is not like the others. One of these things is a Baer Custom 1911. 5-inch full size. Don't get much better than that. These grips have been added. These are also custom grips. Not sure where they come from. This is not my gun. I was loaned this gun to do the video and to shoot it, and I have shot it. And let me tell you, they're guaranteed 3-inch groups at 50 yards, and you can get some of them that are guaranteed 1.5-inch groups at 50 yards. 50 yards is a long way, but this thing is way more accurate than I am. Now, you can really tell, I know I'm not doing it justice, about all the hand fitting where the slide meets the frame. If you want to judge how good a 1911's fitted, that's the best place to look. It's back here where the slide meets the frame. And of course, it's perfection right here, because it was done by a real person, not a machine. These are high-end guns, and you're going to pay the price, but you get what you pay for. Hand checkering, all hand filed checkering, hand fitted. Every piece is polished, fitted by hand. Every one that rolls out the door of Baer Custom has had at least 150 rounds through it. They'll shoot it 50, they'll take it apart, inspect the wear patterns, they'll shoot it another 50 and do it again, then they'll shoot it 50 more, then they'll clean it and box it, and it'll be ready to go. So this is top quality from start to finish. Real people made this gun, and when you get the gun, you get a certificate of authenticity, and everybody that worked on it signed it. You don't get that with Kimber, and there's a reason, because the machine that put this thing can't write, so you're not going to get that. The only people that touch these Kimbers and all these other middle of the road, that's right, I said middle of the road, 1911s or any other gun for that matter, the only reason people touch them at all is because they ain't come up with a machine to replace them with yet, but they're working on it, I guarantee you. But Baer is not working on it. He has people that take pride in their work, and they're good at what they do. And if you don't believe me, if you ever get a chance to fire one or even hold one and look at it real close, take it, because it's well worth your time. It'll come with a patch, kind of a, I don't know what that is. Baer also has an extensive car collection. You get your disassembly manual, and there's a catalog, and there's a price list in here for all the different parts you can buy and all the guns. They range, let's see, the top one here is $3,200. They average about between $2,200 and $3,200 for most of the models, and they have several models. And you can go on their website and check them out. They have several different models. The 1911, like it or not, it's been around for over 100 years, so you can't knock it there. Now, if you take some of the other inventors in John Browning's time and brought them back and showed them their inventions, they'd be amazed. You could take Henry Ford. Although Henry Ford didn't invent the car, he was certainly a pioneer John Browning didn't invent the gun either, but if you had Henry Ford here today and showed him a brand new top of the line F-150 loaded down to the max, he'd be astonished. He'd be amazed at how far things have come. Heated seats. Some of these things will park themselves. They'll back up to a trailer themselves. They're quiet. They're smooth. He would be absolutely beside himself. You could bring the Wright brothers and show them a Boeing 747 or an Airbus A380, and they would be in awe of the technology and the size and the comfort that you can fly today. And what they did invent was the airplane. Their first flight they took on their airplane wasn't even as long as the 747 is. But you could bring John Browning back and you could show him the latest. I think the latest Glock's a 43X and a 48. I don't have either one of them, but this is a 43. You could hand this to John Browning and he would say, what is that, some kind of toy? What's it made out of? It feels like a toy. Then John Browning could actually honestly look at his design and say it's still better. 100+ years later, his design is still better. Like it or not, the 1911 has been around for over 100 years and it's not likely to go anywhere anytime soon. So the Wright brothers would be amazed at how far their invention had came. Henry Ford would be amazed at his automobiles. But John Browning could honestly say, mine is still better. Now, people, I like my Glocks. Everybody knows that. They're dependable. This is like your Timex right here. This thing, you just beat this up. It ain't pretty. It's not a marvel of engineering. Everybody says they're so easy to take apart. Well, that wasn't the plan, I don't believe, was to make them easy to take apart. I believe the plan was to make them easy to put together so they could pump out 500 of them an hour. Just the side effect of easy put together is easy tear down. But this is your Timex. It's tough. It'll take a beating. These Kimbers, I'm going to call them maybe your Seiko, your Citizen. They're nice. They'll get the job done, and you can get them that look real fancy. Fancy features, laser grips, different finishes, and there's nothing wrong with a Kimber. It's a Seiko. But when you step up to something like a Baer, I mean, this is more your high-end watch, your Rolex and all that like that. You're not going to climb under your car and start taking parts off of it wearing your $10,000 Rolex. These guns here, could you carry this? Well, certainly you could. Would you? I wouldn't. I don't even want to put it in a holster. I didn't really even want to shoot it. I'm certainly not going to tear it down and clean it. I'm going to give it back to him dirty. I usually try to give something back to somebody in better shape than I got it. But I am not going to take this 1911 down and try to clean it. I have never in my life, so far, put the idiot scratch on a 1911. Now, I've had some that I bought used that had it. I've never actually done it. But ain't no way I'm taking this thing apart. I'm just going to give it back to him dirty, thank him for letting me shoot it, and it was a pleasure to shoot. Some people will say, oh, it's just, this Kimber's just as good. No, it ain't. It ain't nowhere near as good. It ain't even close. You can just tell when you hold this and shoot it that it is better than all these other mass-produced 1911s. I mean, everybody's making a 1911 now. There's hundreds of them. But if you want a true custom 1911, you need something like this Baer. And you can find some that are even higher than that. But that's easily the finest 1911 that I personally have ever shot. I'm not a big fan of the 1911. I respect its heritage, and it is a beautiful gun. I'm not going to carry one because I don't care for the safety or the single action. That's just not my style. I'm going to carry something like this Timex here that if ever come to needing to throw it at somebody or throw it in the river, I can do that without losing anything. If I was to drop this less Baer or scratch it, it'd make me throw up. I couldn't stand it. But you get what you pay for in most things, and you certainly do in 1911s. Now, there'll be some people that'll complain that it comes in a cardboard box, but I'm kind of glad it comes in a cardboard box, because I want every dime I spend on it to be spent on the customizing, the features, the hand fitting, the hand finishing. I don't want to spend $30 of my money on a plastic box that I'm never going to use. So a cardboard box is fine by me. Like I said, you get the certificate that's been hand signed by everybody that touched it. I ain't never got that with a Ruger. I guess probably if the Ruger figures out where they can have nobody touch them at all, they'll do it. But these things here are fired 150 times to make sure they work. I've bought more than one Kimber and brought it home, more than one, and it wouldn't fire right out of the box. And then that's when I got to call their customer service. That was a pleasure. I hope they've improved that. And there's nothing wrong with a Kimber. Don't get all emotional. But they're not. They are not even in the same ballpark with this right here. And it's obvious from top to bottom. I can't think of much else to say about it. If you ever get a chance, though, to shoot one, I strongly suggest you do it. I mean, if you just take just a close-up of this front strap, I know you can't see that. If you look at that close with a magnifying glass, that was done by a real person with a file, and it's perfection. I'm sure Kimber or Ruger or somebody could come up with a machine to whoop that out real quick. But this is done by hand by a real person, and you cannot find a flaw in it. I wish I could do a better. Well, they just ain't gonna show up on these films, but I mean, it's perfection. Every part is hand polished, every part is hand fitted, every part is touched by a person's hands that actually knows something about what they're doing. Not somebody just pulling a frame up out of a box, throwing a slide on it, and then throwing it in another box, and then stacking them in a warehouse and trying to put out 400 a day. Les Baer says they build about 300 guns a month. And that's a lot for custom guns. But that's nowhere near. Ruger put out 300 guns in the time I made this video. So if you ever get a chance, take it. Now, if you don't want to spend this kind of money on a gun, I don't blame you for that either. But eventually, if you're going to stay in a hobby, you're going to want the best of the best. If you have 200 Glocks, sell 40 of them and buy you one of these. But I don't have one either, so I can't talk. But I have had the privilege of shooting one, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I put 10 rounds through it. Almost felt guilty. But I'll take it back to its owner. I don't even feel right having it in my safe. Makes all my other guns look like crap. But that's about all I got. Thanks for watching.